What's up, marketers? I'm here today with Sarah Levinger, and we're going to be reviewing some of our favorite static ads and breaking them down piece by piece so that we can essentially explain why they're our favorites and why we think they're converting really well.
Let's do it.
Cool, let's go.
So this is an ad that's been running for a while. Like it's, if I remember correctly, this one started probably about 9 months ago is the first time I saw it.
Jeez.
Somewhere between there, like 6 and 9 months. And this one caught my eyes, not because of the way it's designed, but specifically because of what it says. And so that I think this is crazy important for any sort of marketer that's going to be going into this and trying to create ads that resonate consistently. But also, if you're going to create ads that last for a long time, you have to have a message that fits basically any time of the year.
Yeah.
So evergreen is really difficult for any brand. But for these guys, the underlying emotion here is what really caught my eye. So that headline, "Don't change your life, just change lunch," is kind of impactful because it's something that you can like relate to all year long instead of just one time of the year. So psychologically, because I'm into the science of it, it just hits a lot better.
Yeah.
And it lasts a lot longer.
And I think that's something that people don't think a lot about is how important the messaging is versus the format.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I'm talking to marketers or I'm talking to brands, they're like, oh, we need to do a features point ad. We need to do an us versus them ad. And I'm like, well, let's actually spend a little bit more time on the messaging. Because what I actually find when I've done customer interviews and when I've done qualitative interviews, it's actually the messaging point that people tend to resonate with the most. And it's the format that's a little bit more second nature, or it's the thing that gets them to stop and them in their tracks in the first place. But it's that messaging that's actually having the conversion factor here. And I like this too, because I think that a lot of advertising tries to impart this idea of like, oh, if you do this one thing, it's going to change your life. So in a way, this is kind of leaning into that idea of negative marketing. Oh, like, don't change your life. Just change this one thing, as simple as lunch. I think that's kind of cool. Now, when I see this, immediately something that I look at is the protein, the calories, vegan, vitamins and minerals. So this kind of is the features point out ad. But I think it's really targeting like a super specific person, right? It's targeting someone that's really interested in loading up on protein, isn't afraid of something that might be more nutritionally dense with those like higher calories. I'm not saying that 400 calories is a ton of calories, but that's definitely something that could potentially shift people away. Vegan, so we're definitely looking out for people that want to have more plant-based products. I think the one that probably means the least to me is the vitamins and minerals one.
Yes,
like
I noticed that too.
Yeah.
When I first looked at this ad, it's interesting because targeting within the ad is something we talk about a lot, but I don't think anybody really knows how to do. Or if they know how to do it, they start throwing in a bunch of different targeting at the same time.
Yeah.
So for this one, since it has 25 grams of protein on it, you're obviously talking to somebody who understands what that means. Because there's a subgroup within the actual market of people who are looking for this type of product that would understand what 25 grams means. And then there's a bunch of people that just have, they just want weight loss. And they wouldn't know what a gram is and why it's important.
And they have the little icon, the muscles.
Yeah. So it's interesting that they added 27 vitamins and minerals in here.
Because it's like, which ones do they matter?
Yeah.
I don't really know. I think too, the value prop here of, okay, 21 meals and then you get $3.76 per meal. You're already kind of doing this internal calculation, especially as someone who's worked in an office, gone out to get lunch daily. That can run you $10 at a minimum, but it often can go up to $15, even $20 a day. So something like this is a really good value for someone that's also looking to bulk up on protein and have something that's a little bit more nutritional.
Yes. This was a good one. I think they're targeting quite a lot of things in here. Somebody who understands the industry, somebody who really wants to lose weight, somebody who's emotionally very attuned to this, like, I don't want to have to change my whole lifestyle, but they're also targeting price conscious people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of targeting in this particular piece of creative, and I think that's probably why it works so well.
So the first one I want to do is actually, it's a competitor of True Classic. So I want to dive into that one, but it's actually for the, for a campaign that they did for Father's Day, which I thought was really smart.
Yeah.
So you can see a few different variations that Cuts ran. We have a static right here, the vacation dad kit. We also had a founder's angle for Happy Father's Day that talks about, the origin story of how he founded the brand. It shows him there with his dad. and really about how his family was able to support him and motivate him through this entrepreneurship journey. They also had a golf dad kit that ran a few variants, and then another Fathers for Cuts variant that was more of a UGC angle that showed, attractive young family with their baby. Now, the reason why I thought this was really, really smart is because, sure, we could have ran another static that's about, Happy Father's Day, whatever. But what Cuts does a really great job at doing is like leaning into this idea of like the desire to have a family or the desire to be that sort of idealistic family man, while also still being the man and being someone who looks successful and being someone who looks sharp at all times, but, is still able to like kind of get it. So I thought what was cool is they just ran so many different variants of this, right? Yeah. I like this variant right here, help him help himself, because that's very clearly going towards women. And it's sort of like poking at that idea, like, oh, men, like, are they going to be able to get the right type of t-shirt for them? Well, you got to help him help himself. They're really detailing what type of active wear it's going to be for. It's for the vacation dad, Yeah. And I think that that's a really solid, interesting idea. And I also really like when brands show the pairing and actual full outfits. Yeah. That's really smart.
Especially for guys, because we don't see that as much. Women have a lot of these outfit kits, I guess you could say, especially since Pinterest has been around.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. It's all over the place. So women have this whole culture of building outfits together, but for the guys, there's not as much. The other thing I want to say about this one, which is interesting, dad in particular is a very emotional term for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
And so Happy Father's Day is nice, but dad in particular is a really visual word. The other thing that I haven't noticed a lot of brands doing, which somebody test this and then tell me how this goes. I really wanted to use the phrase papa. Because I didn't realize this, but in a lot of different areas in the country, especially in the US, pop is interchangeable with dad.
You know what? I actually saw Nude, the laser hair removal brand. They started testing into daddy language and poppy language. And I was like, yo, get it. That's great. That's great. But I think it really is thinking it's again about knowing your consumer and knowing who they identify as. Again, like you said, they could have just ran another Happy Father's Day ad, and they absolutely did for especially the founders version, which I thought this is a really cool take on a founders ad. Because oftentimes when we talk about founders ads, we talk about videos, we talk about in-depth interviews, but this was really just a founder snapshot, which I think is really accessible,
just a picture
to a lot of people, and also just showing their father. This is actually a very intimate portrait, I'd say, from a brand. And yet, the cool thing about Cuts is they are kind of, in many ways, the antithesis of True Classic, even though for all intents and purposes, it's kind of the same thing. They're selling t-shirts. They're selling t-shirts, but their content strategy is completely different. Cuts is almost entirely shot with a high-end camera. There's very little UGC, and what it is fucking stripped, So, and I don't know. I thought this campaign overall was really cool.
Yeah.
Really.
You notice too, there's a lot of masculinity in it.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting because Cuts, that's where I think Cuts and True Classic kind of diverge. Because True Classic is very much going after the masculine angle, but it's a different.
I think True Classic is the everyman. Something that I described in my video that was breaking down True Classic's creative strategy was in some ways True Classic is kind of the senior manager, associate director level, while Cuts is for the C-suite. Or for the people that see themselves as the C-suite.
Yeah.
So,
and that's interesting because there are markets within markets within markets within markets. So don't ever believe that you can just take one market at the top and just start dishing out a bunch of messaging.
Yeah.
What it really comes down to is how well can you identify one specific type of person and then understand all facets of their life and then speak to that in that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Thanks, Cuts.
So this is an ad that I've seen, I think I pinned this on Forklight ages ago. I don't know how long this one has been running, but the simplicity of the ad, I think, is what caught me on this one. And also their use of color, specifically of dark and light, which is something I see some people trying to utilize, but color is really interesting just from a psychology standpoint, because how things are shaded really tells you a lot about, I guess, like how valuable they are or how safe they are, I should say. So,
okay. And it's like, this is interesting, right? Because this is essentially an us versus them ad, but it's
100%.
super condensed down, right? So what I don't actually see a lot in us versus them ads is that color grading, that shadowing.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that potentially people can think about. A lot of times I'll see like one color on one side, another color on another side. And I think that something people can tap into is like, you know, look into a little bit of color theory. Look and see, you know, like how like what kind of emotion, and this is something that I'm learning from you this week while we're in Miami, is really thinking about the emotion that you want your ad to emit or you want your brand to emit, and how you can sort of pair color with different elements of your ad.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this one works pretty well because, as you said, they pared it down quite a bit. So usually us versus them is a bunch of context. People put a lot of bullet points or a lot of icons, a lot of emojis just to try and make their point stronger.
Yeah.
You don't need that much. Like you can do something as simple as this and give that juxtaposition of light and dark opposite each other and do a lot more.
Yeah. And I like this too, because the messaging here I think is particularly like compelling.
Yeah.
Like just a wallet, just a regular wallet. And then there's Ridge Wallet, and the pairing visuals that they have with that is something that's bulky, something that doesn't look like it's going to fit in your pocket, something that looks uncomfortable, it's overflowing, versus this Ridge Wallet. And what I think is really smart is on the wallet side, you can see remnants of credit card, you can see some receipts, but then on the Ridge Wallet side,
There's like
you have money, and it looks to me that's possibly $100 bill, at least a 20.
Yeah.
Which is
Something higher
signaling wealth,
denomination. Yeah.
you know, so it's signaling like,
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Lots and lots of like psychological attribution going on here. So the brain obviously has tons of like mechanical things inside it. But all of those are connected. All of those like neurons just get connected over time as you continuously do things over and over. So receipts are usually something you keep only because you don't have, well, not necessarily, but sometimes
potentially you want to return it, or
you want to return things,
or you got to take a picture of it, you got to reimburse it. And
but
it's
it
like,
also constitutes basically like a messy mind.
Yes, yeah.
So it's not necessarily saying that you're, you know, not good with your money. It's just saying it's messier to do it this way, whereas Ridge Wallet is not. So imagery is really iconic for the brain. And if you can do things side by side to give the brain some context, it just hits so much better. The message is just so much more powerful.
I like that one. What do you think about that logo at the bottom?
Hate it.
I know. It's not super necessary.
I can't handle the logo at the bottom. I really wish it was a little more understated. I know why they did it, and I appreciate that, like, they're trying to call it brand.
Some brand marketer out there made them do that.
Tried to put the logo on there. Which
And you know
I don't
that the
think they
first
needed.
edit they had on this was make the logo bigger.
100%. 100%. I don't think they needed a logo on
Sorry,
here at
Ridge
all.
Wallet. But if you can confirm or deny that, that'd be great.
That's amazing.
Good ad. Good ad. Okay. I actually want to do this one from Thrives Cosmetics, right? Because I think that this is honestly the antithesis of what a lot of people think is a static that would convert, right? So here they have a new product launch, Infinity Waterproof Eyeshadow Stick. And essentially what they have are swatches.
Yep.
And this is something that I've seen work quite a bit in beauty recently. And it's something I've been testing quite a bit. And the reason why something like this I've seen work is because these are like the number one comments that come up on ads that come up on Amazon. People are always, which color do you think is going to be best for this eye color, this skin tone, this whatever. And even though that this is something that kind of, it's a little intimidating, right?
Oh, yeah.
But I think for a woman who is, number one, looking for waterproof eyeshadow, they're like, oh, wait, they're immediately going to see this. They're going to be able to find themselves in one of these.
Yeah.
Which is keeping people engaging and on the ad unit longer. So I always like seeing these type of swatches, especially when they're able to be a little bit more personalized. A lot of times I see beauty brands do swatches where they take a single arm and they do swatches on one skin tone.
Yeah.
But what's really important is you're able to get multiple skin tones, multiple eye colors, or multiple hair colors, which I really like.
Super important. I think it's interesting because oftentimes we forget that our customers are used to seeing department store makeups.
Ah, yes.
And we have, I mean, depending on your age, you've been seeing makeup commercials for years and years and years. And even in makeup commercials, they used to have just like 1 or 2 models, 1, 2, or 3, somewhere in there. Now we're getting to the point where people are using makeup in so many different ways.
Yep.
It wasn't just an everyday thing anymore, like it was in like the 50s, 60s, 70s. Now it's becoming a part of your expression as a person. So a lot of these ladies are looking not just for individual skin tones, but they're also looking for use case. So this is fantastic because they've done a lot of different looks. They've done day looks.
That's something I didn't realize.
Looks. They've done party looks. They've done glamour looks. They've done Coachella looks. Like they've done as many different use cases and skin tones as possible, which is very good. Psychologically, that's going to hit really well. And it also helps to kind of break people out of this mode of, I don't think this is for me.
Yeah, because there's something here in theory for everyone.
Yep.
So this ad was saved 1 month ago. It's been running for 173 days. Woo. So this is actually probably one of the #1 things that if I'm working with a cosmetics brand, I'm really making sure that they're doing different types of swatches. Yeah. They have good diversity in their ads. A lot of times what I'm looking out for is like creator and talent choice and making sure that they're just getting a wide range of people and also getting a wide range of age ranges.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good one from Thrive Cosmetics. All right.
Okay.
I almost chose this ad. That's so funny. Yeah. I almost chose another variant, but yeah, that's really funny. So
I can't not do something with True Classic. If you're going to talk about good ads, you have to talk about what True Classic is doing.
For sure.
While I was prepping for this particular video, I was rolling through all of the ads they have currently running, and holy God.
They have tons of variations
so
of
much
this.
creative running right now.
Yeah, lots of variety, but lots of variations of this particular format.
Mm-hmm.
But what is making it so successful for them is the messaging.
Yes.
So I'm stoked about diving into that.
Yes. So this is really interesting because I want to talk about specifically the model that they chose. So when it comes to model selection, it's pretty important for us to think about who's going to be seeing it. What do they believe about this particular person? What can we kind of put in there to make this person seem like they're somebody you want to become, basically?
Yeah.
So for these guys, it's interesting because, and I did a deep dive about this, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, about a specific campaign of the most interesting man.
Yeah.
I love that campaign and I can't get enough of it because for male audiences in particular, this kind of aspirational message works well for a lot of different brands and a ton of different products. So these guys are going specifically for this, like, don't stress, impress her with this great fitting tee.
It's kind of like an effortless moment.
Yeah.
Where just buy a t-shirt
Exactly.
and you'll have less stress and you'll be impressing her.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it goes to show that this particular individual must know something you don't, because
I would agree with that.
Right?
Yeah.
Clearly it looks good on him and it worked for him. It's going to work for you too. And then they go in with some technically what I would call benefits and not necessarily features, but they're like a mix of both. So they're talking about accentuating the chest, hugs your arms, shoulders, super soft, not things that you wouldn't see with any other like t-shirt brand.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is at the very end, they added this extra room for abs
scratched out.
Yeah, they scratched it out and put belly.
To make it more relatable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, True Classic, everything you do is so amazing. Everything you do is amazing.
Yeah, I actually did a deep dive on them for a video. It hasn't come out as we're filming this, but it's going to be coming out probably before this video launches, where I did a deep dive on their creative strategy. And it's really interesting. Their founder said that the reason why they were able to scale to 250 million in revenue in just 4 years was because of paid social, but it was particularly because of them leaning into this human desire of romance and of impressing, a potential romantic partner. And it's funny because like these are just basic tees, right?
Yeah, they're t-shirts.
But when looking at this ad, you're like, what we're getting from it is, oh, okay, buy this basic t-shirt. This is like, I mean, I'm sure it is better than Hanes, but it's like, we get less stress. We're impressing her. Accentuates chest is really good. The extra room for abs/belly, good yet relatable. I would potentially change out the hugs, arms, and shoulders because I think the idea of the hugs. I'm like, I'm not quite sure about that messaging. Like they already used accentuates, which I think is good. But if they could say something like makes your arms look bigger or like, like something else there, I think that could have been more overt. Cause like even the word hugs, like when I see it, it almost feels a little bit too feminine.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I find this with a lot of brands too that want to try and use language to communicate and I can tell when they're doing it too quickly.
Yeah.
Because there is a huge difference between feminine language and masculine language. And which one you choose to use at which point in time really does change a lot about what people see about your brand. Now, that's not to say that you can't use feminine language.
Yes.
In fact, I suggest you do. Because it'd be really interesting to use that feminine angle and try and get some good traction off of that. But for this particular thought process, I think it'd be way better just to go straight masculine language.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. We're marketing to a man here. We're not marketing to girlfriends for their guys, which True Classic also does quite a bit of. I also don't love the super soft one. Like, I feel like all t-shirts say that.
That is so funny. My husband tells me never to get him shirts that are not soft. He's like,
interesting. Maybe that's probably maybe that is actually good messaging research on their part.
The super soft angle, I think, is something that well, probably not most, but a lot of men value.
Yeah, buttery soft is another one that I always see. Buttery,
yeah. Which is so funny because I don't see that working in feminine ads. Like, for women's clothing.
Yeah.
Super soft is not something that seems to be as important.
I also think it for women can communicate a lack of quality.
So true.
Sometimes that it maybe seems that the fabric is too flimsy or it's not as sturdy or it's not going to last as long.
Well, and I'm not sure that women really care about how comfortable their shirts are, which is kind of a funny thing if you think about it.
True.
Like,
Yeah.
It's fashion over function over here.
Yes, exactly. I actually want to do this one from Real. This is actually a brand that I'm not super familiar with. Real, this looks like an athletic greens comparison. And the reason why I wanted to choose, I chose this particular ad is because, number one, it's using a popular format, right? We're doing a features benefits point out, but I feel like it's a lot more highly personalized. It's a UGC image. So it already feels a little bit more organic, a little bit more engaging. But what I really like here is the benefits point out are actually talking from the eye, from mind. Yeah. So it seems hyper personalized. And this too, it's in a 9:16. So this is likely going to pop up on someone's Instagram story. And they're probably not going to realize for a while that it's an ad. So it looks pretty organic.
This is really interesting too, because when it comes down to language use, a lot of times marketers want to push that you. Yeah. You are going to love this. You benefits, changes your life. You. Because it's very difficult, I think, for people to put themselves in somebody else's position. That takes a lot of practice. This use of my and I, they've done quite a few studies about how effective it is for conversion rates. Switching the use of we specifically when it comes to a company, not using we and using I. So you're basically trying to say that you're interacting with one person within the brand instead of a bunch of random people in the brand. This is great use of that. So they've specifically called out increases in my energy levels. It's my favorite product. So now you believe that this is actually this model's testimony, which it might be.
Potentially. It might just also be like a random creator that they decided to partner with. This is also like one of those things where it's like, okay, split test it with whitelisting really quick. See if that's like a good, if that drives a lift in conversion. Yeah. But overall, I mean, the creator choice here is like really spot on. It's someone that's not wearing a ton of makeup. She looks really clean. She has that clean girl aesthetic. Yeah, totally. Her hair is long. It looks clean and healthy. She's wearing also a lot of light colors, beige, and in the background is super beige. Yeah. So really, there's just this overall feeling of, wow, this is health, this is wealth, this is like someone who really takes care of themselves. She's getting her daily source of nutritional greens, and I guess the real benefits here is like, okay, this is increasing my energy levels, and this is my favorite product for immunity.
Yeah, that was a good ad. I don't know what it is about these type of ads, but I love arrows. I love it. Arrows
actually point out the certain thing. I think that's actually a really good thing for people to test, because a lot of times I see brands just do a line. Yes. And they're not just actually pointing out.
I want to see arrows, mostly because arrows, like stylistically, are movement, right? Yeah. When they're just lines, you tend to go to the end of the line and you stop when you look with your eyes. But arrows push you down into the next piece of whatever you're looking at. So I love arrows. Yeah. Such a great use of like an icon in there.
All right. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining me today in Miami. It's been awesome hanging out with you for the last few days. Where can people find you if they want to get to learn more about you?
Yes. If you would like to follow me, I'm on Twitter basically every day at Sarah Levinger. You can also find me on YouTube. Hopefully,
subscribe to her channel.
Videos coming soon.
Something that people are going to be able to gain from following Sarah is really just a lot of more in-depth consumer knowledge on messaging strategies and how to properly communicate to your customer. She also does amazing breakdowns on Twitter at least once a week. I don't know like where you find the time to do that.
I don't.
But if you want to become a better marketer, give Sarah a follow. Be sure to subscribe to her on YouTube. And that's all for this time. I'll see you guys next week. See you. Bye.